stories glow. Palm lantern ignite, where the tales will flow. Whispers of the night, under moonlit skies. Every word so bright, in your mind it lies. Palm lantern light guides you through the night. Every tale in sight makes your heart ignite.
My name is Juliet. I am who most people consider breathtakingly beautiful. The kind of beauty that made heads turn. But more than that, I had an excellent academic record. My friends say that I am kind, soft-spoken, and full of love. I wasn't born into wealth, but my older siblings did the heavyweight lifting for me. So, things were always easy for me. I won't deny the fact that my beauty made it easy for me to get favors. However, my life took a U-turn when I got married. Here is my story. One quiet afternoon in college, Josh, the spoiled rich boy, walked into class. He was wild, rebellious, smoked a lot, barely attended classes, and was known for sleeping with most of the girls in class. But I won't lie, he was incredibly handsome. Even though I knew who he was, even though I knew I shouldn't, my heart skipped a beat every time I saw him. It was love at first sight, but I told myself not to think too much about it. Someone like Josh was not good boyfriend material. One day in class, I noticed him again. I quickly put my head down because he was looking right at me. I could feel the blush creeping up my face. Then, I heard him ask his friend, "Who's that girl?" But before his friend could answer, Stacky, the most popular and richest girl in class, jumped in and said, "Oh, that's Juliet. She's the daughter of nobody." I heard him go, and I tried not to think much of it. Later that day, while the professor was teaching, I could feel someone staring at me again. I turned my head slightly, and there he was, Josh. Our eyes locked for a few seconds, and I felt my heartbeat pace increase. I quickly turned my eyes back to the board. As soon as class ended, I gathered my things in a hurry and left. As I walked down the hallway, my mind kept racing. Why was he staring at me? Was something wrong with my face? Was my outfit too modest? I was so deep in thought that I didn't even notice Josh standing by the corner of the building until I almost walked past him. I stopped in shock, but then kept walking, pretending like I saw nothing. As I was about to walk past him, he spoke to me for the first time. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Then, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You look so beautiful." I couldn't help but smile softly. "Thank you," I said, smiling. And that was the first time I saw him smile 2-0. It was beautiful. He was about to say something more, when Stocky's voice rang out, "Hey Josh, let's go." He glanced back at me, smiled again, and said, "I have to go." And just like that, he walked away. I stood there for a moment, a little disappointed. I knew this would probably be the last time I'd see him again. After all, he hardly ever came to class. But to my surprise, just as he was walking toward Stacky, he turned around, walked back to me, and said, "Can I have your number?" I was so shocked and happy that I smiled widely and said, "Yeah, sure." That day, I waited eagerly by my phone, hoping he'd call or text, but nothing came. Not even a simple hi. I shrugged my shoulders and went to bed, but not without giving myself a pep talk to mind my business and to focus on my books. But the next morning, I woke up to a message on my phone. "Good morning, sunshine." And that was how our love story began. Fast forward, I graduated. He proposed. I said yes. We got married, and I wouldn't trade my marriage with Josh for anything in the world. He changed completely for me. He gave up the bad habits, stopped smoking, and became a better man. He even started managing a wing of his father's business, and we went to church together. I managed our HR company, which Josh and I established. But there was one problem. We couldn't have a child. We went from hospital to hospital, hoping for answers. But every doctor said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with either of you. Still, years passed, and I just couldn't get pregnant. I was one of those women who screamed my ovaries whenever I saw a new baby. I was obsessed with babies. I wanted the picture perfect of a family, with our children surrounding our table. I buried myself in church activities and work. One afternoon, prior to the midweek service, the pastor walked up to me. "Sister Juliet, how are you doing today?" he asked kindly. "Oh, Pastor, I'm doing great," I replied, trying to smile. "Are you sure?" he asked, studying my face. "You don't look well." I sighed deeply. "Pastor, it's a long story. I have time today, Sister Juliet. Talk to me." I nodded slowly. "Pastor, you know me and Josh have been trying for a baby for 20 years now." "Yes, I remember," he said gently. "God will do it for you both." "I know, Pastor, but I am afraid that I will soon be menopause is fast approaching. Several IVFs have failed." My voice broke a little. "My in-laws, they've been on my neck for so long. You know Josh is the only child his parents have. Pastor, I understand their pain. They are not getting any younger." I looked down, tears threatening to fall. "At this point, I don't know what to do anymore, Pastor." He consoled me. That evening, after service, the church was almost empty when the pastor gently called out to me. "Sister Juliet, I have something for you," he said, stepping closer. "But not every woman can follow through with it." I looked up, and hope instantly filled up my eyes. "Pastor, try me," I said, almost in tears. "Please, I've waited so long. Anything, Pastor. I'm ready." The pastor leaned in closer, as though he was about to share a divine secret. Then he whispered something that made her heart stop. "Sleep with me." It took all the willpower in me not to slap him. My knees buckled, and I dropped to the floor, gasping. "What?" I screamed, staring at him in disbelief. "Pastor, I can't do that. I have a husband at home." How could you even say that to me?" The pastor stood calmly and replied, "I told you not every woman can accept it. But that's how it works. That's how you'll get pregnant. Ask the others in church how they got their children." I couldn't take it. I picked up her purse and ran out of the church building, my heart racing, my hands trembling. When I got home, everything felt different. The house was quiet, but my mind was loud. I couldn't concentrate. The words Pastor said kept echoing in my head. "Sleep with me. That's how you'll get pregnant." It was sickening. Josh noticed right away. "Baby, are you okay?" he asked, walking into the kitchen and hugging me from behind. "Yes," I replied quickly. He turned me gently around to face him. "Baby, are you sure? You've been quiet since you came back. Talk to me." I looked into his eyes. I wanted to cry, to tell him everything. Instead, I forced a small smile. "Yes, baby. I'm totally fine." Josh kissed my forehead. "Listen, I know you're worried about the baby thing, but don't be. God will bless us when the time is right. Don't let my parents pressure you. They can't do anything. I'm the one who married you, and I love you. No one else matters." Tears welled up in my eyes, but this time, they were from love. "Thank you, baby," I whispered. "Now smile for me," Josh said, wiping her cheek. I laughed through my tears and gave him a reassuring, beautiful smile. The next morning, after Josh and I left for work, I tried to distract myself at work by reading my Bible, but my mind kept drifting. How could a man of God say something like that? My heart was still heavy, but I managed to get through the morning. On the weekend, Josh and I were relaxing and enjoying each other's company when I heard a knock at the door. It was my friend, Jessica. She was bright and cheerful as ever, with her twin babies in her arms. She thought she started her menopause and stopped using contraceptives when she discovered she was pregnant. She was shocked when she found out she was carrying 2 babies in her womb. Here, I was unable to get pregnant even with all the money we invested into IVF. Do not get me wrong, I was happy for my friend, but I just didn't know why the same blessing could not extend to me. "Juliet," Jessica sang out, drawing me out of my thoughts. "I just thought of dropping by. The girls have been asking for their godmother. I smiled as the lovely girls ran into my embrace. Oh, look at them. They're growing so fast. Yes, oh God has been faithful, Jessica replied. I carried both girls and doted on them, but inside, I was dying. My world was crumbling. Jessica kept chatting casually. You know, Juliet, it is difficult to be a parent at this age. My 2 children are already grown. Now, I have to run around with 2 toddlers at my age. But whom am I to complain? Sometimes I just sit and laugh. I thought menopause was here, only to wake up one day feeling funny, and boom. That sentence hit me like a dagger in the heart. I nodded quietly, trying to smile again, but inside I was screaming. God, she wasn't even trying and you gave her twins, and me. 20 years and nothing. No pregnancy. No child. Just waiting and praying and hoping. Still nothing. I blinked quickly, trying to keep the tears from falling. I heard the girls gently in her arms and whispered, God, when will it be my turn? Days went by, and I couldn't shake the heaviness in my chest. I smiled on the outside, but felt like I was slowly falling apart on the inside. I continued going to church every Sunday out of routine, but I carefully avoided the pastor. I couldn't look him in the eye anymore. I couldn't forget what he whispered to me that day. But then came Children's Day. The church was filled with decorations, balloons, tiny chairs lined up neatly, and children in colorful clothes, rehearsing their memory verses and dance presentations. I tried to keep a smile on my face, but my heart was aching. And then I heard a familiar voice. Oh my goodness, Josh. I turned. It was Stacky. The same girl who used to hang around Josh in college. My stomach tightened. Wow, it's been so long, Stacky said, giving Josh a light hug and then turning to Juliet. Hey, long time no see. I smiled politely. Hi, Stacky. I didn't feel like talking, so I excused myself after exchanging pleasantries. I'll just stay back and watch the children's ceremony, I said softly. Josh and Stacky walked off laughing and catching up like old times. I tried to focus on the children, clapping when they danced or recited scriptures, but my heart wasn't in it. I looked around and saw mothers holding their children, fixing their clothes, wiping their noses, hugging them tight. That ache returned in my chest like a heavy stone. I turned slightly and saw Josh and Stacky still talking. Stacky was laughing and lightly touching Josh's arm. My chest tightened, my vision blurred with tears, and before I knew it, I was running toward the restroom. I locked the door behind me and collapsed onto the tiled floor. Why me, Lord? I whispered. What did I do wrong? I heard a soft knock, but didn't respond. Then the door slowly opened. It was the pastor. He stood there silently for a moment before stepping in. I saw your husband outside, he said softly, talking with a very beautiful lady. I wiped my face quickly and said, That's Stacky. She's his friend from college. The pastor stepped closer. They looked really close. My tears started again. He continued, I'm not trying to make you sad, but you need to act fast before someone else takes your husband from you. I sat up quickly, brushing my hands across my face. Pastor, I need to leave. But as I reached for the door, the pastor blocked it gently and said, I'm not doing this because I want to, but because the Heavenly Father spoke to me. He sent me to help you, Juliet. I froze. Look at it this way, he continued. I'm the helper. This is spiritual. No one has to know. It will be between us. I stood still, my thoughts racing. My husband's loving words, my in-laws' constant pressure, the way my friends looked at me with pity. It all came flooding back. My womb was empty. My nights were long, and my prayers felt unanswered. I didn't know how it happened, but with my heart torn and my hope slipping away, I nodded. I agreed. I went home that night and barely spoke. Josh, as usual, was loving, attentive, and gentle. Completely unaware of the storm tearing through my soul. He massaged my shoulders, made me tea, and kissed my forehead gently. As we sat quietly on the couch, I broke the silence. Babe, is Stacky married now? I asked, trying to sound casual. But my voice was tight. Josh smiled. No, she's not married yet. Still searching for her husband. He chuckled lightly. But she's doing really well for herself. Became a doctor. Owns multiple investments. And even has real estate in Abuja and Canada. She's smart, driven, and honestly, I'm proud of her. I stared at my cup of tea, my fingers tightening around it. Josh kept talking, his voice filled with admiration. She's one of the few people from college who really pushed through. I never knew she had it in her. She was unserious in school then. You should have seen her today. She looked so confident, so happy. I nodded slowly, but my heart sank deeper. The way he spoke about Stacky, with warmth, with pride, and with soft laughter, made something twist painfully inside me. Jealousy crept in like poison. Not just because Stacky had success or beauty or freedom, but because, for a moment, it felt like she was the woman Josh was proud of, and not me. And as I forced a weak smile, nodded along, and said, "That's nice," my heart quietly whispered. What do I have left to offer? I had agreed to meet the pastor on Saturday at a hotel room. I didn't want to do it. Every fiber of my being screamed no, but I felt I had no choice. The desperation for a child, the pressure from friends, family, and even myself, it all pushed me toward that terrible decision. Then came Friday evening. I was home alone because Josh was hanging out with friends. I was sitting in the living room, flipping through channels absent-mindedly, when my hand hit the remote, and a movie began playing. I hadn't selected it. The remote had just slipped, and the movie started on its own. I almost changed it until I saw the scene. A woman, just like me, barren for years. A pastor had told her she would conceive if she slept with him. The woman gave in, and yes, she got pregnant. But later in the film, her husband found out, and killed her, and himself. The child became an orphan. I froze. I clutched the blanket on my lap, tears streaming down my cheeks. God, is this you? Are you speaking to me through this? That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I prayed. I fasted. I cried. And by morning, I drove to the cemetery to my parents' graves. I lay there on the cold earth, sobbing. Mom, Dad, I need you, I whispered. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing myself. At that moment, I felt a strange calmness wrap around me, a deep, silent peace, as though their spirits had heard me and whispered, "Do what is right, be free." I stood up, wiped my tears, and went home. That evening, I sat with my husband and told him everything, every detail, my desperation and vulnerability and the pastor's request. Josh was stunned. Anger flashed across his face, but then came silence. Long, quiet, heavy silence. Then he finally spoke. "I am sorry, baby. Thank you for telling me about this. The pastor is an animal taking advantage of vulnerable women in the church. You are my wife. We're in this together. I'd rather have no child than lose you to something like that." Tears fell again, but this time they were from relief. We left the church, cut ties completely, and started attending another fellowship, one that was smaller, honest, and full of love. Josh suggested something beautiful one day. "Babe, what if we adopted a child or children? I think you'd be amazing with kids. It'll help you feel better." I smiled. "Really? Do you think so?" "I know so." We both started the adoption process. Then, one day, Stacky got married to a man she met on a dating app. 6 months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl through IVF. Josh and I, we never had biological children, and that was okay. We adopted twin babies whose teenage mom died when having them. When we held them for the first time, we knew they were our miracle. They may not have come from my womb, but they stole our hearts. Josh's parents were disappointed. They didn't hide it. But in time, they accepted the children as their own. I was fulfilled. I had a husband who stayed, who loved me through everything, who never gave up on me. That to me was the greatest blessing of all. We often chase happy endings in the way we imagine them. A straight path, a perfect outcome. But God's plan doesn't always follow our script. Not everyone who wears the cloth of holiness speaks for God. Desperation should never lead you to compromise your values. Stick around with good friends in your moments of despair. Trust in God's timing, and never exchange your soul for a miracle. True blessings never come through deception.
Underneath the stars